Have you noticed how pressure doesn't always arrive as stress, but as a quiet sense of being behind something you can't name? Have you felt moments where nothing is wrong, yet rest feels undeserved? Do you ever sense that your effort is real, but the direction of it feels unclear? Have you noticed how being busy can feel lighter than being still with unanswered weight? Do you ever carry expectations that no one has spoken aloud, yet you respond to them anyway? Have you felt calmer on days with fewer choices, even when the work was heavier? And have you wondered why some forms of pressure sharpen you, while others slowly drain you without making noise? Pressure does not arrive loudly. For many men, it settles in quietly and stays. It shows up in the background of ordinary days, in the pause before sleep, in the space between effort and rest. Outwardly, nothing looks dramatic. Work continues, responsibilities are met, conversations happen as usual. But inwardly, there is a steady weight, not panic, not fear, but something heavier and more constant. Many men sense this pressure without naming it. They know it is different from stress, different from excitement, different even from ambition. It feels structural, as if it belongs to how life expects something from them, continuously, silently. This pressure is not always visible to others, and often it is not spoken about, not because men lack words, but because the experience itself does not ask for expression. It asks for endurance. Pressure moves differently through men because it tends to attach itself to direction, not to emotion alone, but to trajectory. A man often measures himself less by how he feels and more by where he is going or not going. Progress, competence, stability, usefulness. These become quiet reference points even when no one else is watching. When pressure builds, it is rarely about a single failure. It is about continuity, about whether effort is leading somewhere real. This is why distraction does not dissolve pressure for long. Entertainment may soften the edges, but the weight returns, because the pressure is not asking for comfort. It is asking for alignment. Men also tend to experience pressure internally rather than relationally. They do not immediately translate it into conversation, not because they cannot, but because the pressure feels personal, almost private. It becomes something to carry, not something to share. There is also restraint involved. Many men learn early that outward reaction does not reduce pressure. Expression does not always lead to resolution, so the pressure is contained. Contained pressure sharpens focus in some moments, in others it dulls it. When contained without clarity, pressure turns into restlessness, a sense of being busy but not grounded, active but not settled. This is where discipline begins to feel different from motivation. Motivation rises and falls, pressure remains. Discipline, in its quieter form, is not about forcing action. It is about reducing internal friction, removing unnecessary movement so effort flows in one direction. Men often sense this intuitively. They feel calmer when their days have structure, when decisions are fewer, when energy is not scattered. The pressure does not disappear in these moments, but it becomes useful. It stops leaking into everything. Pressure becomes dangerous when it has no direction, when effort is real but purpose is vague, when desire exists without a container. In those conditions, the pressure turns inward. It hardens, not into anger, but into numb persistence. Over time, pressure shapes identity, not through words, but through repetition. A man begins to recognize himself by what he carries without complaint, by what he absorbs and continues through. This can create strength. It can also create distance from one's own internal signals. Self-mastery is often misunderstood as control over impulses, but for many men, it begins with understanding weight, knowing which pressure belongs to the path and which pressure is unnecessary accumulation. Some pressure clarifies character, other pressure blurs judgment. It comes from comparison, from undefined expectations, from carrying outcomes that were never fully chosen. Men who develop quiet authority are rarely those who escape pressure. They are those who have learned how to place it correctly. They do not dramatize it. They do not let it spread unchecked. Their stability comes from containment, not suppression. This is why inner stillness matters, not as an escape, but as a reference point. Pressure is not a flaw in the male experience. It is part of its structure. What matters is not how much pressure exists, but how quietly it is held. When pressure has direction, it steadies the mind. When it has meaning, it strengthens presence. Many men do not need more intensity. They need fewer internal conflicts, less noise between intention and action. In that space, pressure does not disappear, it settles. And when it settles, something else becomes possible. Not relief, but clarity.